to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing, please, for a moment of silence for Teresa Neer, food service cashier from Stony Point, passed away recently. Thank you, everyone.
Is absent tonight. Mr. Kraus.
Here.
Mrs. Manini. Here. Mr. Manciello.
Here.
Mrs. Romano. Here. Mrs. Zugabe.
Here.
Thank you. May I have an acceptance of the agenda, please? Motion by Ms. Manini. Second by Ms. Romano. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Board member reports, Mr. Fernandez, please.
Yes, Mr. Massiello, I have a couple of items. First, I want to thank the community, school associations, and all North Rockland and many others that participated in drumming up support for the Milan debt relief. We ask the community to reach out there to our legislators. A little later, Mrs. Eckert is going to have a budget presentation, and she'll have additional details of some of what's transpired. But we just wanted to say thank you to everybody out there in the North Rockland community. There was a great response, and like I said, Mrs. Eckert will get into more details. I believe there was over 1,900, almost 2,000, if not more, communications sent up to Albany. So that's pretty impressive. So thank you to everyone. A couple of other items this past month, the cadets from North Rockland Navy Junior ROTC, under the leadership of Academic Team Commander Cadet Joe Labera, won the Brave Ball academic competition at Colts Neck, New Jersey, defeating teams from several states. The team also included the top individual competitor, Cadet Brandon Smith. This was a tremendous accomplishment and the first time the team has won a major academic competition. So congratulations to our ROTC. This past month, and for the first time, North Rockland competed in a robotics team competition hosted at RCC. They passed their rookie inspection and performed remarkably well throughout the competition for the first time. So good job by our robotics team. And he's here with us this evening. Congratulations to Mr. Ed Mulvey, Director of Information Systems, for being bestowed the TEL Award. This award is presented to a regional district teacher or leader who is a positive influence in moving innovative and effective technology forward in the classrooms, schools, and district. This individual is passionate about educational technology and has inspired effective initiatives that have fueled innovative change in the classroom. So, Mr. Mulvey, are you out here? It's amazing. We give you these awards, and we see this award. We have right now. So we might have to rescind it. You know what I'm saying? Great job, Mr. Mulvey. Yeah. The annual North Rockland Sports Day and Mud Run, Mr. Massiello, you're going to participate in the Mud Run?
Well, now you're putting pressure on me.
Yes. Will be held on Saturday, April 13th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at North Rockland High School. The cost is $5 per family. The proceeds from this event benefits several worthy causes. It's a great time. Come out and support this. You'll have a lot of fun. North Rockland High School has accepted the Organ Donor Challenge. Tappan Zee High School has thus far signed up the most new organ donors in one day. North Rockland will host their blood drive and organ donor sign up on Thursday, April 4th in the Annex Gym from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come out to support these fantastic causes. Their drive honors Janine Ramos. Janine is a 3-year-old North Rockland resident with leukemia who has significantly benefited from blood transfusion. So it's a good time to sign up. If you haven't done so, organ donors are always in need. It's a gift of life to somebody else. All of North Rockland schools will be closed for spring recess from Thursday, April 18th through Sunday, April 28th. On Monday, the 29th, is a staff development day. Will be held no student attendance. And as always, there's information up on our website. Each school has one. There's a district website. A lot of schools use Twitter, Facebook, so there's different forms of communications. That's all I have, Mr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Does any other board members have a report? Okay, I would just like to add one thing to Mr. Fernandez's report on the organ donor. We had a young lady, her name was Lauren Shields. She was a 9-year-old girl, and she was in 2008, she had a heart transplant. And as a result of her persistent recovery and how strong she was, she became a spokesperson for her cause. And she got the governor to sign a temporary bill, which when you get your driver's license, you have to check off whether you're going to donate or not. It's a yes or a no. You can't any longer be passive about it and not answer the question. So it's your right, but she got that law passed, and then this year, I believe the governor is making it a permanent law. So she's, I believe in Albertus Magnus now, but she graduated since. So yeah, that was 2008. That makes sense. But she's doing very well, and because of her persistence and her outgoing personality, she had this law committed, and just like to give her a lot of credit on that. So that goes along with your report, Mr. Fernandez. They actually put a little heart in your license, right? So, okay, with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Eckert before our first presentation.
So Ed, we're not going to let you off that easy. Unfortunately, when Ed was recognized last week, it was the same day as our Staff Development Day. And many of us, I was able to be there, but I know many of our other administrators and staff that would have wanted to be there to celebrate it were unable to go because they were busy with duties in the district. So we're going to embarrass you just a little more in front of your home team, because I can't say enough about this young man and how he has grown into the position that he's in. And he put it well, because along with his award came the fact that he had to do a 20-minute presentation at the award ceremony. He didn't know that part of it when he accepted, but he made me very proud sitting there and hearing him, and just the many, many things that he has brought to the district since coming into his position. And he said at one point, I said, I took this position and I didn't know, what do I know? I'm a social studies teacher and I'm going into director of tech ed. But I don't know anyone who's a quicker learner in a field that you have to learn constantly. And he has really just brought so much innovation to classrooms, to the district, and we're so proud of you. So Chris, why don't you say a little bit about why he was nominated?
So our local regional information center, which is also known as the RIC, awards innovators and excellence in technology, not just from Rockland County, but Westchester, Putnam, across the river, and in the whole tri-state area. And this year, it's called the TEL Award. And this year, rightfully so and well-deserved, Mr. Mulvey was recognized for excellence in technology and for bringing innovation and collaboration to our district. And as Mrs. Eckert said, the only thing that made us upset about this, we all couldn't go there to celebrate with him. As he was kind of going through the presentation that he presented that day with me the day before, I'm like, wow, you did that? Oh, yeah, that's right, you did that as well. Just so many ideas, and Ed just has such a way about him where he is just kind and he listens and he really doesn't get rattled and has a lot of different ideas and just kind of gets people and empowers people to really think a little different and to do things a little different, to take some risks. So we were awful proud to have him awarded with that recognition. So congratulations to Ed.
We have a little token for you. I hope it grows as well and as strong as your career will for the next few years. And Jules and the Mopi boys, would you come down for a second too, please? We know how much time you give up of dad and your husband for him to do all the things he does for the district, and we acknowledge what you're sacrificing as well, and thank you for it.
So this is a family award.
Now we're going to turn it over to Ms. Lang and the Fieldstone Chamber Orchestra.
This is a handful of our brave seventh graders who have come to play for you tonight, and they're playing a piece called Stomach.
Thank you once again, Mrs. Lang and the seventh grade class, very much. Okay, we're going to go a little bit out of order here. We're going to wrestling and give a presentation.
Our coach, Howe or Swick here? Okay, Mike, would you like to come down and help me recognize the athletes? You weren't expecting that, I know. We pick on everybody equally around here. He has to go fix his hair. We had two young men that were very accomplished during the wrestling season. Jake Breyer. Jake, are you here? Here? Okay, Jake was team captain, all league, all section, county and section champion, and New York State qualifier with a record of 44-8 for the season. So congratulations to Jake. And Maddie, come on down. Maddie was all league, all section, county, and section champion, and New York State qualifier with a record of 31-12 this season. Congratulations. Is Coach Nelson here? The next team I've been following for a few years and was so excited that this was finally their year, and we were convinced, right, Joni, that this was their year because they have been up there to the state championship so many times, have eluded that first place, but have come in second, third, sixth, and they've been just knocking on that door so many times, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of girls. They're not just great athletes, great bowlers, but they're great young ladies that we're very proud of. So this year, they did it. This year they won in style by a lot of pins, and we're so happy for our North Rockland bowling team, and we're going, you want to say their season?
First, let me just thank Mrs. Eckert for inviting us to come here and honor the girls. They had a great season. There were so many accomplishments this year, so I'll just top off the things that are highlighted. First of all, they were county champs. They were Section 1 champs. They did it in style. They broke the Section 1 record. They actually crushed the Section 1 record. I don't think it will ever be beaten again. Collectively, the girls, if anybody knows anything about bowling, averaged 231 for the entire tournament. I don't think that record will ever be beaten. They took that momentum to the states. They won the state championships. Several of the girls finished in the top 10. Nancy Kohut finished second overall individually. Nicole Kona bowled 300 at the state championships, which was the highlight of her high school career. We have the athlete of the season, Victoria Verana, who averaged 217. She's a 9th grader. So many accomplishments for this team. I couldn't be prouder of them. And just as their coach, as Mrs. Eckert said, they're such a nice group of girls. It's a pleasure to watch them coach. I'm very proud of them, not only as athletes, because they're very dedicated, but also as young ladies. They're just, great girls to coach. We couldn't be prouder of them. Okay, so our senior, Nicole Kona, our junior, and Akira Deloach, and Amy Rivera. Our junior, Isabel Palomero, our sophomore, Nancy Kohut, and our freshman, Victoria Verana. We would also like to bring up Nick Verano. Nick Verano is on our boys bowling team. Nick Verano also is a state champion. He competed at as an all-section bowler, as an all-star on the all-section team. Nick Verano is the high average in Section 1 this year. He's 3 times bowler of the season. It's an incredible athlete. And also, as with all of our athletes on our bowling team, we're not only proud of them for what they bring to the bowling team in terms of their skill and their dedication, we're very proud of the individuals that they are. They're fine young people, and we're very proud of them. Thank you.
We also have a separate certificate for Nicole. She's been only the 2nd bowler in state's history to bowl a perfect game. And I don't think any of us breathed after the 5th frame. Everybody just held their breath every time she went up. It's very exciting. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up Virginia Stellato, our coordinator of music, and we have several students that are being recognized for excellence in music tonight as well.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Mrs. Eckert, Central Office Administration, and the Board of Education for having us here and for recognizing our music students. Tonight, we're recognizing our intermediate all-county students. We're recognizing our senior all-county, area all-state, and all-eastern students. And Ms. Santillo, come on down. We're going to start with all-eastern.
Thank you so much, Board of Education and Mrs. Eckert and Mrs. Stellato for supporting excellence in music in our schools. It takes a whole village for individuals to rise and attain a level at which they can walk into a NISMA solo room and sing for a state NISMA judge and nail their solo, which is typically done in a language like Italian or Latin or German or French. They usually have to play maybe 12 different scales for those kids who are instrumentalists. And then they also have some sight reading to do. So this year we're very proud. Unfortunately, she is not here tonight because she is getting ready to pack because the festival is on Thursday in Pittsburgh. And she's also recognized for her academics as well. She's a very involved young lady. Her name is Chinwe Ezilio, and she's going to All Eastern for the music festival.
Good evening, everybody. So the following students were selected to this year's all-county band. Samantha Denker, Ethan Foyer, please come down when your name is called if you are here. Ethan Foyer, Michael Canarian, Eric Kessler, Kenny Lorident, Maxwell Kite, Jenica Liriano, Matthew Lombardoni, Rebecca Luther, Edwin Jason Marcord, Sophia Martinez, she has unfortunately moved to Florida, so she will not be here tonight, Margaret Romano, Amanda Sherman, Gregory Simpson, Monica St. Just, and Alessandro Troncoso. Congratulations to all of them.
And then these are the senior all-county students who were accepted into the mixed chorus. We have Raekwon Valois, please come down when your name is called, John Carchi, Shane Casey, Michael Cinquemani, Chinwe Ezilio, Kathleen Fortunato, Keyshawn Hendrick, Tahila Hill, Aiden Hoey, Annette Keel, Dominic Logano, Lani Lavelle, Sebastian Maurice, Anthony Mencia, Armando Mendez, Katuro Mondesi, Alex Monteroso, Juliana Munoz, Caitlin Orris, Kayara Psaros, Kylie Rios, Stephen Rush, Imani St. Fleur, Joelle Dean Thompson, Allison Verardi, Latarski, Weston Kai Verhoff, Christopher Victor,
Should have been attached to that.
and Ethan Weiss.
I don't think they're gonna have it.
And then these are the students who sang with the treble chorus. And we have Kaylee Babcock, Evelyn Carlavaro, Tonia Demostheny, Amanda Gorbea, Manjot Kaur, Cassidy Prentice Odell, Maya Rivera, Victoria Romero, Harlequin Selajan, Allison Spong, Cashley Talibert, and Amy Vasquez. I think these students are all at home practicing because we have a coffee house coming up next week. I'm glad Kaylee and Allison are here.
From the Senior All-County Orchestra, Alexi Ausa, Xander Barron, Maria Della Demora, Juliana Engel, Grant Figueroa, Heather Hammond, Angeline Javin, Alexandra Mena Jimenez, Rita Kohut, Stephen Konopko, Amber Kuhn, Yi Lin, Ariana Miklos, Matthew Phillip, Adrian Ramos, Vanessa Safar, and Jessica Singh. Congratulations.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. These are the students who participated in our intermediate all-county for the band. So we have Kenny, from Willow Grove. So we have Kenny Kohler, Alina Karici, Aiden Tack, and Justin Barrier.
Next up, we have the Intermediate All-County Chorus students from Willow Grove. Olivia Beltran, Isabella Bochar, Joseph Cole, Crystal Conklin, Amia Dunclar, Valerie Dela Cruz, Marissa Dela Rosa, Kelsey Henderson, Eileen Hernandez Chilchoa, Kaylee Leguilo, Magnus Lowell, and Christina Nardone.
Smile, Kelsey.
Closer, man. Okay, I think we're good. Come closer. Yes, no, maybe so. Are we good? Just first.
Hello, I'll be presenting the Haverstraw Band, Chorus, and Orchestra students. Jane Minaj, Jane Blair, Sirius Crusette, Montserrat Cruz, Giancarlo Gomez, Sebastian Jean, Madison Johnson, Eliana Nunez, Daniela Bonilla, Chanel Rosario, Kaylin Spohn, Emily Urena, Annalise Rodriguez, Michaela Rivera, and Sophia Allen.
I am truly excited this evening to honor 14 all-county chorus members who made it to intermediate this year, as well as one band student who made it to intermediate all-county band. The following students are Liliana Bigelow, Zoe Brown, Brianna Guzman, Brianna Lucas, Juliana Hubner, Serena Nessett, Nayara Perez, Rachel Ramirez, Nadia Revelario, Avery Rizzitiello, Cia Scarano, Luke Schaefer, Paige Sinatra, Reese Verhoef, and our band person is Isabella Spataro.
And from the Farley Elementary School Orchestra, we have Sergio Aviles, Brady Kavanaugh, Riley Johnson, Liam McCaffrey, Alessandro Santana.
I love when we have the nights that we have a little athletics, a little music, a little recognition of our ROTC for academics, because that's really the strength of North Rockland. Is multifaceted, and it's great to celebrate all the strengths that our children have. And I always equate these children that you just saw coming up for music to really sectional play in sport. They are really parts of these ensembles that come from the entire county. And in case of all Eastern, from the entire East Coast. So it's really quite an accomplishment. We have a county that has very strong music programs in all our districts, and it's really quite challenging for these students to be selected for these groups. So I really thank you, and thank you to the parents that dedicate so much time to bringing them to rehearsals, to bringing them places, to encouraging their love of music at home. We know that when they first start out, Those squeaky sounds don't sound great, but we know how they progress over the years, and by the time they get to middle school and high school, it's really a delight to sit at a concert and hear them play. So thank you to the parents as well for your support. And now we always announce we don't want to keep you hostage. We know that kids have a lot to do, and to the more piece, you certainly don't have to stay for the whole meeting. You can go home, but we'll take like a minute recess, and the budget presentations, if you can't stay, we understand they are on our website, as Mr. Fernandez said. You can follow all our presentations on the budget season on our website. So please, we do encourage you to take a look at that. And before everyone leaves, I do publicly want to thank our Senator Skoufis, and our Assemblymen Schmidt and Zabrowski for the work that they're doing for us in Albany. Although they didn't get the sustainable aid, we ask you to continue sending those letters to the governor's office, because the governor's office has given them a promise to continue the conversation with them post-budget and to really find a fix for our Myron debt, which would be huge for all our taxpayers. So they do need our support to continue those letters to the governor's office to show that our community is behind finding a definite fix for that huge debt that we incurred with that Myron settlement. But I do want to thank them publicly, because they really are working very hard on our behalf. Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
The assessment. Well, I'm doing the budget first. All right, as we know, the budget in Albany has been finalized. Okay. Where's Ed?
I'm finding this teleport back.
Where's Ed? Here's our final legislative budget, and we did end up in a better place than anticipated. If you notice, these are all the different aids. The important thing for us there is the full day conversion aid. You see the 2.5. And the difference from the governor's budget, if you remember, we didn't have language originally that covered all our students transitioning into kindergarten because we had used federal funds to be able to grant half-day kindergarten to some of our children. We argued with the state that they had never given us conversion aid on those students, that we could not use federal funding once we went to full-day kindergarten. It took a while, but I have to thank then Assemblyman Skoufis and Zabrowski for fighting that for us. And the governor's budget was finally adjusted. What you see in parentheses there, the 978, is the additional aid that is part of fighting for those kids. So if we would not have won that, we would have received it less, almost $1 million less next year, and about $2 million less this year. So that has been adjusted in our budget now. It's been corrected for this year. We will be receiving the full aid for this year, and it's been corrected into next year. But it was put in as part of the whole aid package, so it seems like we're getting a lot more than we're getting. That's why we separated that kindergarten aid out. So the net increase, if we take that additional kindergarten aid out, is $1.5 million. But I'd like to remind you that we started out at $12,000. So that's quite an increase. It's not the increase that we've seen other years, but it's quite an increase from where we started in the governor's budget of receiving just an additional $12,000. So the aid that will be coming in is $1.5 million plus the full kindergarten aid covering all the 500 students that we had. So that's certainly a better place to be. Okay. I don't know why that's up there, but the tax levy calculation, yep.
So that aid was due us right from the start.
Yes.
So it's not like they gave us anything.
No, no. Yes.
It's just unrecognized.
Yes.
I just want.
And again, it was a fight with them to get them to understand why we deserve the aid on the full kindergarten class and not just the almost half, because we had been with the federal monies funding almost half of our kindergarten class for full day. And we fought with them to say, listen, once we put full day in for everyone, we can't use that money, and you're not funding us anything to convert for those kids. But it took a while, and it took until this year, because at the beginning of this year, when we received our aid last year for this year, the full aid wasn't on there. So it took conversations post-budget last year to finally convince the budget office that, yes, they should be funding the full conversion aid on all the kids. But you're right, Peggy. It's not additional aid. It's what was promised to all the districts that converted to full day. Yes. 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 It was 100% if you remember year one, so that's this year. It'll be 65% next year and 35% the year after that. So it's a declining aid, but we are getting funded on the full 500 and so students that we had. Yeah, no, that took a lot of work, but no, it's not anything additional that the other districts that converted from half day to full day didn't get. As you see here, we followed our tax cap formula. And this year, our percent increase is 2.5. That is staying within the cap. I know that it continues to be a confusing message. I'm just listening to the news yesterday, and they're saying the 2% tax cap is now made permanent. We know that it's not a 2% across the board of what your taxes were, but it's a 2% base formula on your levy. And it could be anywhere from a negative number to an increase of 5%, where it's been in some cases. So the formula doesn't always work, I think, as it's intended to, of keeping things flat at 2%. The district has always stayed within the formula. We have never looked to blow the formula and to increase beyond what the formula allows us. But this year, based on our growth, based on our numbers, our increase is 2.5%. So the proposed budget, you know that last meeting, oh, wait. Oh boy. Oh, this isn't. Can you go back one, Brian? This isn't working for me. Yeah, thank you. Last week's meeting, we saw that with a failed budget, we would have to have cuts of 1.5 million if we wanted to stay with our contribution from our reserves about the same, which is down to 5.4. With the increased state aid, we're able to drop that number to 1 million and still keep the contribution from our reserves about equal. I mean, it's the place where we want to go. We are still using over $5 million in reserves to make the budget whole. And I think that, you know, as we can keep that number where it is or declining is where we want to be. And by doing very, very strict budgeting over the last few years, and obviously we've had quite a few retirements, that breakage has helped us immensely in keeping costs down. And we hope that the next few years we can continue to balance that so we can keep that that amount that we're using from reserves equal to that or declining so that we could stretch our reserves over a few years and keep paying that loan. Important at the bottom in green, the proposed budget, and the proposed budget percent increase is 1.3%. And you'll see later on of where we've been over the years. Okay, again, the proposed expenditures, if you look at our change in expenditure lines, the one that really seems out of whack, there are a couple there. One is the equipment, and that's because we need to replace a truck. And you know that over the years, we have kept that at zero or very little increase, and we're a large district with a lot of equipment. And we're to a point where some of those trucks are just not passing inspection and have to be replaced. There's some of our snow removing equipment. So we are proposing an increase there to be able to replace a truck that did not pass inspection. We also are adding capital transfer, 500,000 from our reserves to be able to replace the units that are on top of the high school that have aged out. We're finding a tough time getting even parts for those anymore. There are 30 or so units there, and we're trying to do a few each year until we're able to replace them all. Other than that, most of our lines have very minimal increase. Our budget, tax levy, and fund balance history, again, we go back to when we settled the Mylon lawsuit and what our tax levy is and was and what it will be next year. And you'll see that over 12 years now, there's been an increase of $10 million over 12 years. That, if you look at the bottom, really 12, it's really 13 years going into next year, goes to an average budget change of 1.84%. So budget to budget on the average, we've increased the budget less than 2%, the budget itself, and the levy change has been less than 1% over those years. Budget reductions, again, we have to prepare. We know that the law says that if the budget fails, there's no contingency budget in the tax cap formula. So you have to leave your levy where it is and not increase it at all. In order not to increase what we're using in reserves, we would have to cut, as we said, now down to $1 million. And it would come at a reduction of 5 teaching positions, 4 teaching assistant, 2 CSEA positions, and under an austerity budget, you're not allowed to have field trips or many after-school programs, so we would cut another 200,000 there. And that's only if the budget should fail. Right now, those 4 teaching assistant positions, we have retirement, so we don't foresee any reduction of employees there. The teaching positions, you know, we always look to see what retirements we have and where we could pair off those people with retirements that we possibly have to lessen the impact on our workforce. But retirements are slowly coming in, so we don't know yet where all of those will be. We anticipate that one of those positions possibly will be out of reading. There'll be 2 out of class size reduction at the elementary level, and possibly another 2 at the secondary level. Migrant, we know that this is still a factor. We keep this light in there because it's something that we have that the rest of the state doesn't have. In our conversations with the Assemblyman and Senator Schoolfist over the weekend as the budget was winding down, you know, now with the kindergarten aid, like the budget department is kind of confused with the aid that we're getting. And I said, they really need to just look at one number. They need to take a look at our debt payment for Myron because nobody else in the state has that. And our guys understand that. I think the budget division in Albany still has a tough time with that. So we will continue working with them. I know Senator Schoolfist sent in a message saying that they had gotten a verbal and a written commitment from the governor's office to continue the dialogue post-budget. So I'm hopeful that they'll still be talking about it and that the governor really is serious about helping us with our situation with Myron. There's still a long way to go to 2037. We added their advocacy up to date in the 2019-2020 state budget process. The legislators continue to speak with the governor's office post-budget regarding sustained debt relief. So it's important that we continue to ask people to send those letters, to let them know that the community is aware of those conversations and that they're in support of it. So if you have family members, if you have people that you know that still have not communicated via that, please have them continue the advocacy and supporting our legislators in Albany. And we have added this slide to the presentation with the link again at the bottom and reminding them of what the language was both in the Senate budget and the Assembly budget, and that people should continue to click on the link below and send those letters to them supporting that we get some permanent relief for Myron. And again, we include all our elected officials' information on here as well. Yes, this will be up on the website tomorrow. Yeah. Yep. Any questions? Okay, so the
letter writing thing.
Yes, it's still on our website too. Yes, and it'll be on this presentation as well, the link. But no, yeah, it's on our website as well, Peg. So at the next committee of the whole meeting is where we have the adoption of the budget, any public input on the budget at this meeting, and then the public hearing on the budget, and then the budget vote. So we have 3 meetings left before our budget vote.
Thank you, Mrs. Eckert. Okay, we're going to move the state assessment to the next agenda, to the next meeting.
Yeah, I just will make a few brief comments on that. As many people know, we started the ELA state assessments this week, and our opt-out numbers are still quite high in North Rockland. It's a concern. It's a concern now because the state has addressed, and there's a presentation that will be on our website from the commissioner. The state has attempted to address the issues that parents had, being that the assessments were very long. There were 3 days. They are cut down to 2 days. The number of assessment questions have been reduced. The assessments are no longer tied to teacher and principal evaluation. The assessments are being, for the most part, written and reviewed by New York State teachers. So I think the state has made an attempt. Are they 100% where they should be? Probably not. and assessments and curriculums are always a moving target and something that you're constantly looking to improve. So it's something that's a work in progress, but I think the state, at least under the current leadership, has moved to address some of the issues that parents have had with the assessments. Under the ESSA, the new assessment, the new accountability for federal and state, there is a formula that does kind of punish you a little bit if you don't have a participation rate of 95% or better. There are plans that have to be written for those schools that consistently do not improve their participation rate. It's also in the final accountability could put your school at risk of being a school under review if your participation rate is low. So it takes away resources that really shouldn't be taken away, because now you have to invest them in these report writings, and you have to commit resources to try to fix those issues that really are not issues in your school. And it takes away resources from other programs, from after-school programs, from other activities that we could be using those resources for. So I do respect the parents' right to opt out if they really feel that their child is going to be negatively impacted in some way by taking these assessments. But I do remind everyone that the Regents are not optional. You don't get a New York State diploma without taking a Regents exam. And if that's the first longitudinal test that your child is sitting for, that's not a great practice either. We have gone away from taking finals and midterms because of the state assessments, and we didn't want to over-test our children. But now the children are not used to taking comprehensive tests until they have to sit for a Regents if they've opted out all these years. So I just do caution to parents that if you are opting out, you are doing it well-informed, for good reason, for your philosophical reason, but not just because your child is coming and saying, I don't want to take this test. It does give us good information on our curriculum, feedback on how our kids are learning in our schools, and it is not used, those test scores are not used for your own child's promotion or educational decisions as a standalone. But it does give the district good comprehensive information about how our curriculum is performing. So I just wanted to, it's okay. I think I said everything that's in the commissioner's report. So thank you.
You don't have the power of me because it looks like you said it all.
Yes.
I have a great memory. Okay. Going to move to old business. Business? All right. How about any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay, seeing there's no correspondence, we're going to move to public comment. Is there anyone that, okay. Let's see, it's only one. Okay. When addressing the board, please state your name and address, and all your remarks should be addressed to the board president. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner, respecting others' viewpoints.
Thank you. Mike Costello, Castle Court, Fields, New York. I'm Ed Maltby's brother-in-law, forgetting one of those chocolate bunnies. On a serious note, on behalf of the St. Gregory CYO Board of Directors, we just want to thank Central Administration and the Board of Education for use of your facilities during our CYO basketball season. You're a major supporter in the youth program we have during our basketball. Big shout out to Ms. Lively, and I see Mr. Rooney here, his fantastic custodial staff, always welcoming us in the building. Just on behalf of St. Greg CYO, we thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costello.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations, CYO had a big win, right?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Kinstorby, 17 Hawkness Road, San Francisco. And I just really wanted to address, as a stakeholder in the community, I do have some concerns with the negative test scores at Farley and the public that was written up in an article. So I really just wanted to see what we were doing about that and how we will proceed in improving those scores. And by the way, we opted.
Thank you. There is a whole comprehensive plan that will be given to the district by the visiting team that was in. So they said it would take about 6 to 8 weeks possibly for us to get the full written plan. And after that, we would have to then put a whole plan together. Mrs. Lopez and I were just in Albany for a full day meeting for 6 hours on what those plans look like. We were sitting in an auditorium about this size that was totally packed with the rest of the schools in the state that were also there that had been identified. So we are waiting to get that plan to then put specific things in place and really looking at our whole 4 to 6 level and how could we strengthen that, not just at Farley, but across the whole district in terms of grades 4 to 6. We know it's a critical age for children, and I have to say it was a collaborative process. The team that came in, I thought, was very collegial. I know there's another parent that met with them, and maybe in the back, spend the 3 days with them. And we always welcome feedback from an outside eye. We have engaged in those curriculum reviews just on our own in the past with colleges and with professional groups that do them, because it's a good thing to take a look at your practice from the outside in. And there's also going to be a parent, student, and staff survey that is done as part of that, but that we're also going to do district-wide. We did one several years ago, just before the transformation, and we wanted to wait a few years to have everything settled and then touch base again with all our stakeholders to say, how are we doing in all these levels? So that'll be coming hopefully under this funding as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now close public session. We're going to go to retirements. And Mr. Fernandez, would you like to read the first?
Whereas Mr. Jorge Montero has served the North Rockland Central School District with dedication for a total of 26 years, whereas he has submitted his resignation for retirement purposes, therefore be resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby accepts with deep regret the resignation of Jorge Montero, Assistant Principal, effective June 30th, 2019, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education wishes Mr. Montero and his family much happiness in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. May I have a second by the whole board? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Is Mr. Montero here? I wish to congratulate him on a very wonderful retirement. Mr. Krause, if you would be next, you have a comment.
Elaine Leon, whereas Ms. Elaine Leon has served the North Rockland Central School District with dedication for a total of 17 years and 4 months. And whereas she has submitted her resignation for retirement purposes, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby accepts with deep regret the resignation of Elaine Leon, monitor, effective March 15th, 2019, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education wishes Ms. Leon and her family much happiness in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Krause. May I have a second by the whole board? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Is Ms. Leone here? Okay, I just want to add that I'm glad that she beat her husband into retirement, so she's well deserved. Thank you. Okay, we have one more, Mrs. You have the copy.
Richard Spada. Whereas Mr. Richard Spada has served the North Rockland Central School District with dedication for a total of 11 years and 5 months. And whereas he has submitted his resignation for retirement purposes, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby accepts with deep regret the resignation of Richard Spada, security aide, effective April 26, 2019. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education wishes Mr. Spada and his family much happiness in the future.
Very good. May I have a second by the whole board? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Is Mr. Spada here? Okay, I want to wish him a wonderful retirement. Okay. We're going to move on to consent agenda. So the use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be transferred to the regular agenda for consideration and the separate vote, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. I have a motion on the consent agenda. Mr. Fernandez, second. Mr. Kraus. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Yes, I'll look for a motion for adjournment. Mrs. Romano, second by Mrs. Zerko. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you all very much for coming.